Let me know when the cameras are okay. All right, we're up. Welcome to the Sutton Board of Health meeting. Per Massachusetts law, this meeting is going to be videoed and taped. So we'll get to it. Local upgrade variances, 242 Boston Road, Summit Engineering. No one's here, but it's been looked at to pass, is that?
Yeah, Steve, what's up with it on this?
Yeah, that's the one, the separation to the wetlands, I think the regulation in.
Is this the local,
town,
right?
Yeah, local regulation. Less than 100 feet from the wetlands.
Do they have it called out on here, Steve, or no?
No, they don't.
So it's just less than 100 feet from the wetland local. Is that what it is?
Yeah, the local regulation is wetlands.
Is this conservation look at this?
Yeah. It's new construction. It's just down there.
Oh, okay.
It meets state.
Oh, it means, okay, it does, all right.
Yeah. I'm fine.
Okay. Yep, no, I'm fine. You're fine, I'm fine.
Make a motion to approve plan with the local, closer than the local offset of 100 feet to the wetland.
All in favor?
I'll second it, all in favor.
Okay. Opposed? I mean, can we do this with 3 people, or do we need more?
Yeah,
More?
we need-
Okay.
yeah,
we do.
quorum, yeah.
Alright. Next is 166 8 Lots Road, Mark Farrell. Oh, there you go, sorry.
What are you asking for? Mark, it's not on our paperwork.
They basically, they put a new system in about 2 years ago, and the people who bought it want to convert a building into an accessory apartment. So basically, this would just be adding 2 more lines to the existing system that was put in the ground a couple years ago to accommodate the accessory apartment.
How many bedrooms is the home?
4 in the home, and then they're gonna add 1 more bedroom.
Steve.
So this is
So
increasing,
the current system's not big
Increasing
enough
flow,
to
yeah.
handle the additional bedrooms, so it would be expanding what's already put in.
but it's increasing flow, you're increasing flow. But can we, if this is a non-conforming existing use, can we increase flow? Is that what this is? Or maybe that's not what this is.
No.
This is also, part of the granting for variance on that.
There is,
correct?
because the existing system had a 2-foot offset to groundwater.
Okay.
So what they're gonna do is just tie the new building into the tank, run it down to the pump chamber, it's already there, and then add 2 more lines, proposals to add 2 more lines to the existing leach field.
So you're getting up, okay. What kind of, it's just a, what is it, pipe and stone type system? What is it?
It's a cold
No,
tank
it's
chamber
cold
system.
tank.
Oh, it's a chamber system, okay.
So they're gonna add 2 more rows of chambers.
Oh, there they are, okay, chambers, yeah, all right, okay.
So he's just looking for the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I make a motion to approve the local variance for a 4-foot offset to 3-foot provided.
Second?
Second it?
All opposed? Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're up.
Okay. 21.5 West Sutton Road, Robert Murphy. And Company. Excuse me.
Is that mic on? Can you tell if that mic, it should be, okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
just talk loud. For the record, my name is Robert Murphy. I'm representing Stage One Developers Investors LLC in their application to do a local upgrade approval at 21.5 West Sutton Road. The plans you have before you have been approved by the agent, subject to a few conditions. One condition was that we have to have a recorded deed restriction for the single bedroom. The house is to be developed with no more than one bedroom in the house. And we are currently working with the Conservation Commission. We've had one hearing with them. They asked for a landscape plan. They wanted to see more landscaping on the site relative to trees that had to be removed, things like that. And we are now in the process of preparing to submit an application to the ZBA. That requires a variance, a waiver from the setback of the house, because it's it's an existing non-conforming lot, but you still have to get a special permit for an existing non-conforming lot. But we don't anticipate any major issues with that, where the house is already non-conforming. At the last hearing, there was a couple of questions relative to some details on the retaining wall, drainage, things like that. So what we did was generally when we do a plan like this for a septic system, we try to get everything on one sheet. But in this case here, just because of all the details and everything, it was just too much. So we provided the board with a second sheet with a lot more detail. And again, it would be helpful to the contractor to have those details. The
Do you have the
retaining wall, we went back, we provided more details on the construction of the retaining wall. And a couple of questions that had been asked by the agent, Steve. We mentioned all those, and I believe we're all set with them. It's like I say, the approval is based upon conditions.
You said you had those? Oh, there it is.
Anyway, with that, I'll give it back to the chair and answer any questions that you might have.
So I still don't understand where we are with it. I mean, the wall, it was one of the concerns. How is that being addressed?
We provided more detail on the construction of the wall. Essentially, the blocks are 2 feet high, 1,400 pounds.
6 foot high.
They're 2 feet high. You can get them 18 inches, but in this case here, we were pretty much going from, the wall height's going from 2 feet with an average height of 4 feet. And then up near the foundation of the house, it goes up
6.
to 6, and that's where it basically abuts the house. We are limited in the grading because in order to meet the Title V requirements, the wall pretty much has to follow just inside the property line. And not wishing to grade on other people's property, the wall has to be 6 feet high to meet the existing grade. That's basically 3 blocks high, and it's pretty much an over-design, but where we have a surcharge within the septic system itself, we wanted to have a good, strong wall.
So what variances are you specifically looking for to get this?
The
Oh, local grade, okay.
setback from septic tank
Mhm.
to the house. We actually determined that we were able to make the tank 10 feet away by the way that the house is to be located. It requires the plastic barrier so that the system itself is within 20 feet of the foundation of the house. And you also have setback to the property line where you're required to have a minimum of 10 feet to the property line. We are gonna be like 8 feet with the retaining wall.
Okay.
Also, under the repair, we are showing the existing well and the proposed well are within 100 feet. They're 50 feet, just over 50 feet. But
Does this not show the wall right on the property line? You're saying it's
The wall's pretty much on the line. I mean,
so is it on the line or is it 8 feet from the line?
the wall itself is 6 inches off the line.
Okay, what did you just say that was 8 feet off the line?
The septic system itself,
The
the
septic
field.
system is 8 feet, okay, alright, okay.
And what we have is a plastic barrier,
Mhm.
behind the wall.
40 mil barrier.
Right, 40 mil barrier,
Okay.
and that allows you to, by the depth of the barrier, you're allowed to be within that 15 feet of the flat slope. The 40 mil plastic barrier has to be at the elevation that the system would be if it were a 3-to-1 slope, 15 feet away, that type of thing. And that, again, that was a reason for a second sheet, was to show more details on the plastic barrier.
But the problem that we're still having, is you don't have a wall plan.
Yeah, we do, we have the
Two.
retaining wall.
Yeah, that's
It's
not.
on the second sheet.
Yeah, I have sheet 2 right here, that's it, right?
Yeah, there's,
That's a cut sheet out of Ready Block Wall
right,
magazine.
it's a ready block wall system,
Right.
right,
Ready Block has engineers there, that you send them this plan, and they
right,
give you a block count. They show you all the drainage behind it, all your offsets you need, all that stuff. That's a wall plan.
right.
This is a septic plan with a cut sheet from Ready Block attached to it. That's not for this, this is a general,
That's not a construction quality.
It shows the height of the wall.
I know, but this is a very important wall. Alright, you're 6 feet high on your neighbor's property line. I don't want the wall falling in the neighbor's house. Where's the design plan on the wall?
The detail of the section of the
That won't
6-foot
work,
wall.
that won't work for me, I'm sorry.
That's what Ready Walk,
We
that's
were
a
very
detail from
clear
Ready
last
Walk.
time you were here that we wanted a designed wall. I told you were gonna have trouble squeezing it in here. So even right there showing it, you're showing pipe and stone behind the wall,
Right,
okay?
right.
And how thick is that?
That's between the barrier, between the plastic barrier and the wall.
Right, how thick is
Right.
it?
That's,
Foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, whatever the contractor wants to make it?
no, it's in between the plastic barrier that's shown on the plan and the wall itself.
Okay,
Well, you've
so
been-
where's your call out on your numbers? Cause to scale it, I'll scale it off and it's right on top of it. So how
Well,
many feet are behind
What we can provide you as a condition of approval, we can provide you with a retaining wall, designed by Ready Rock. This is,
want that.
That's part, before we can approve the plan, we wanna see that, that's attached to it. Because if the wall gets designed, we approve this, they design a wall that's not gonna work right, then we have no say in what you change in here, do you know what I'm saying, to make it work.
We've
So I
been
wanna
through
see
this,
it
and
all
we're not,
together.
anytime we get the walls anywhere than a couple feet, right, we always require engineered, a stamped plan from an engineer
3
from the
feet.
wall. We've had to do some of these retroactively, which have been a mess. you know, because people put up a wall and they don't have a plan, and then and they're coming to us with this, and now we got a 5-foot wall out there that's 75 feet long, and we have no idea what the,
Right,
where
it's
there's
a
a
big
plan was,
problem,
so-
I know it's a big problem with the neighbors down there.
Well, we can have Ready Rock or,
They have an engineer right on staff, you just send it to them, and they
Right.
give you a block
give them a
count,
plan, they design
they
the wall.
give you a little,
Right,
it's,
Done it many times.
yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, we're not being.
That's all we're
I don't think
looking
we're being
for, so that we
unreasonable.
can see how it's gonna work and if maybe what you're thinking might not quite work, maybe they have you shift something a little bit, then your offsets are gonna change a little bit.
Well, we basically have to build a site around their wall. That's, I agree.
Then you might have to change your technology or something, I don't know.
Well, the intent was to use the block wall, but if it turned out that, for instance,
Might be a
you know,
board
the
wall
depth
or
of the
something,
wall
I don't
didn't
know.
work, you could do a poured wall.
Right,
Now you get into big footing and all the other stuff, and.
Right, it's
Well,
just
that's
something that needs
that's
some
steel
detail.
reinforced.
I agree with you 100%.
That definitely requires a structural engineer.
You know, and they'll show the railing on it, you know what I mean, cause it's gonna need a railing up there. And then over 3 feet, I believe.
4
needs a
feet.
4 feet, so you got 6 feet, right?
But we can, I think when you start talking the depth of the wall itself, a requirement for 6 feet high, I may leave it up to the owner whether or not they want to do a poured, you know, concrete, reinforced concrete wall.
Yeah,
Just because of the depth.
right, and the ready block wall, the width,
They're deep.
yes.
Cause you've gotta have so much fabric, are those ready block walls the same type of use that use that
No, we
fabric
don't
to
use the
hold-
fabric
They don't
on
use the
this.
fabric behind it? No?
Not on, well, not on a 6-foot wall of this type.
Okay.
These blocks weigh 1,400 pounds.
Is this like a unilock?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay.
Yeah, they just got two
Yeah.
nubs on
Yeah.
it, and they just sit.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
Sometimes
lock
they'll lie,
together.
yeah,
They're like
right.
Legos.
So can we make a motion
But-
on that and move on? Yes?
I just wanted to make a comment. At the last meeting, if I recall correctly, weren't we gonna, ask for a structural engineer, to approve a plan?
Yeah, so
And
the
that's what
structure,
I'm
that's what
gonna
we're
come back
asking
to
for is the wall
get
plan,
a-
so.
That's why we didn't meet last month, and we gave them like that 2-month window to get
Yes.
an engineer.
So
plan
Ready
into
Block
this.
has a structural engineer.
Okay.
They have engineers on staff that will stamp it.
Okay, but you don't have this here now, correct?
No.
Actually, we do. Norman Hill reviewed the design. He is a structural engineer. He's a professional engineer. Structural engineers stamp.
Well, he can stamp it, but he's gonna design it, cause I know if I ask Norman, that's on a wall design.
No, well, the idea is that
Let's move forward with the.
the height and the specifications for the wall, to meet a 6-foot wall, he reviewed it. He's a structural engineer, he stamped it.
But, I mean, I think we all agree, okay, that we need, I mean, it's not that big a deal to get a real detailed wall plan, right?
No, no.
Okay, so
We
that's
do
what,
it
I
all the
mean,
time.
you know, right, that's what we need, is we need a, you know, I know Norman probably reviewed it, but it doesn't specifically say much about the wall. The wall is a huge concern to the neighbors and us, and, you know, if, I don't think we're being unreasonable by asking for more detail.
No, because
On the
we're
wall.
still working with conservation. They have questions on details, and the ZBA, we're not even, you know, in there. I just wanted to, how could I say, feel comfortable with this board before we went to the ZBA.
Right, I know you guys are trying to just get kinda okays from everybody before you spend a lot of money, I get it, but that's a big detail on this site. And I have a feeling it's gonna change things a little bit in there, cause of your offsets and
Well,
stuff.
if we have an issue with the offsets, we'll do a poured concrete wall. We did one down on, Ramshorn Pond with the contractor actually on his own designed a poured wall.
What's the size of this house this footprint of this house relative to what's there?
They haven't even given us any,
You know, specific.
Well, the thing is, it's a 9% increase in the size of the house. You're allowed by right a 30% increase.
Okay, I just
So
was
what we've
curious.
done, see, the plan you have before you, the house is 24 feet wide. We've decided to reduce the house. At the request of conservation, it's gonna be 22 feet wide. So it's slightly, that 2 feet allowed us to now be 10 feet away from the tank, the septic tank. So that worked in our favor. So what I will do prior to the next hearing, and I'll submit it to your agent to be reviewed, is to show more detail on the retaining wall and actually show the house is 2 feet narrower.
Yeah, I see it's 30 by 24, here's gonna be
Right.
30 by
It's
24.
now 22 feet by 28.
22 by 28.
Like I say, we're working with the Conservation Commission at the same time, you know, we're working with you, so we're trying to satisfy, you know, more than one master here.
Right.
And they had made a couple of changes that happened since this plan was submitted, so we will reflect that on the next plan. But basically, the only change is they wanted landscaping and the reduction in the house.
Okay.
Yeah, and you might have to show that in order to fit things in a little bit, so.
Well, when you start getting down to the nitty-gritty of, you know, the distances between the wall and the plastic and the pipes and things like that, we will put more detail into the design of the wall, so you'll see exactly what, you know, I agree, the depth of the wall there, like 36, 42 inches deep, that could be a problem. So we'll probably go with an 18-inch poured concrete, you know, reinforced concrete,
Right.
which is actually stronger and, you know, it's narrower.
Right.
And we could put a fence, anything over 4 feet, we could put a fence
Really.
basically along the up to the house and along, it's about 20 feet of the wall on one side.
Alright, so you're back to the drawing board.
Yeah, right. So we have citizens here that want us.
I guess my,
If you wouldn't mind coming up and just identifying yourself and get a good recording on you, thank you, sir.
Joel Voico, 22 West Sutton Road. Are we designing on the fly here?
I mean,
Well, he's talking about poured concrete now instead of the blocks.
no, I think was just saying that, just kind of thinking out loud.
He's shooting out his ideas, he needs to provide us with a
Yeah.
plan from an engineer.
It's called democracy.
Well,
Wow. Okay.
so we'll,
I'm a degreed engineer, so please. Okay. So, usually when you get to this point and you're looking for approval, you have a strict design and you're worried about seepage from the wall, water coming from against the wall. Is that,
That's why we're asking for
I
an
understand.
engineer plan.
I was sitting in the back, it sounded like we were just spitballing new designs.
No, he's just running stuff off of us, but we don't, at the end of the day, I really don't care what kind of wall he puts there, as long as it's certified and it's gonna work,
Understand.
you know? So that's why we're looking for a wall design and stamped by
Looking for,
the structural engineer.
we're looking for more detail and an engineer's stamp on the actual wall to make, you know.
And then town engineer stamps also approves?
Yes.
Cause I live across the street and it took almost an act of, whatever to get my, approved, septic system in 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure we're not spitballing up here.
nope, not how we roll.
Changing design, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Anybody else to speak?
Is it the pressure of the water against this wall which wasn't
You need to
real?
go up and
No.
identify yourself.
Huh?
Go up and
Oh.
identify yourself.
Sorry.
I'm 21 West Sutton Road, Running Strand. And our concerns are, as you have noted in our letter, we do have some issues. I would like to look first at how far our well is from his well. Because on this original layout that we had, his, plan, it looks like it's 20 feet from our well. That is not acceptable. The water flow, I mean, I can show you right
Yeah,
now.
we'll check, let's see.
This was the original first one.
This
I
is
don't,
original, okay.
it's probably all changed by now. It was a 1-inch schematic down below, and if you measure that, it's not even an inch.
No, it's like, yeah, it's almost 40,
That's why
30-some feet.
I measured it with a ruler. That's totally, the water pressure in the spring there that would be an infringement on our well, I feel.
It should be a drilled well, right, down in the aquifer.
Well, yes, we have a drilled well, that's our well up here.
So, this is, yeah, so, I don't know, I mean, it looks like, what's the scale on this?
See if that's changed from the original. Cause that was the original.
This is, from here, it's almost 30 feet, 27, 28 feet.
That's
From
not
this one.
acceptable either.
I don't know if they're.
That's
offset.
way
The
too
thing is,
close to
it's-
our well.
I don't know if there is an offset.
I don't
That's
think there's a
also what we're feared about these walls they wanna put up too. That water pressure in the spring is unbelievable. It really flows down hard. Are these walls gonna be able to maintain this hydraulic pressure? Are they?
That's stuff they have to look at and design for.
You know, really, that's a big concern of ours.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, I am,
That's fine,
Yes.
take your time.
okay. I just wanna be able to understand
No,
all
it's
this,
yeah,
okay?
sure, yeah.
That's really not acceptable. Now he's gonna add, I know they've done some house changes there, so I guess that's pretty much the measurements. My concern is really the well and the wall.
Yeah, I mean, we have restrictions on well to septic and well to house, but I don't know well to well, I don't know if we have anything well to well, do we?
Nope.
And
Not
how is
that I'm
he
aware
able
of.
to move
Well,
a
have to
house
be-
when nobody else has been able to move a
Well, it could be less
house?
than 10 feet from the property line.
Right.
Well,
So
well, other-
if each well is 10 feet from the property line, it
It's
could be.
20 feet.
It's 20 minimum.
Right. But our artesian well, you're looking, I mean, their well could be
Yes.
800 feet deep, yours could be 200 feet deep, you could be drawing from a different aquifer. You know what I mean, as far as that goes.
Yeah, well, that's,
But the wall is definitely a concern, and that's what we're concerned about. We wanna
Right.
see what the plan is there.
right, the plan, because
'Cause
that
they showed
that water
drainage.
really is,
Right, they showed what the wall is gonna be made of, what the drainage is, what the runoff is, hydraulic pressure on the wall, they're supposed to take into account for all of that.
yeah, okay.
we
But,
appreciate your concerns and,
well, it is, it's very much a concern.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
oh, here's your plan, do you want this back?
I had many copies.
Okay, there you
That's
go. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We tell them, we'll go over with Steve, and Steve has to stay up at. So we'll go over what we're working for, and then Steve knows that, and we can come before us.
Anybody else before we wrap that one up? Thank you for coming.
I have one more issue. Meetings, can you explain to me when the other meetings are posted for this again? I know you've said it once, but now I've forgotten, because I didn't see it on your calendar. So
They
I,
get posted out front of the building, in the
Okay.
box on,
but not on your
Thursday.
calendar online.
no,
Fourth Tuesday.
Tuesday the last Tuesday.
4th.
So we have to come like 48 hours before every meeting to find out if there's a meeting?
Or you can call us the office.
Just call the office and ask. Yeah. But the legal posting is a paper posting on the bulletin board outside the town
Well,
hall.
I just wondered why it wasn't on the calendar.
Right, no, I can understand, yeah, we don't typically put it on the calendar, but you're welcome to call.
All right, thank you.
Okay. We move on. Galaxy Pass, Patrick
Okay.
Doherty.
Were they here? Is one of you Patrick?
Yes, I
Oh, you made it, okay.
Yeah, perfect timing. So my name is Patrick Doherty. I'm a professional engineer with Midpoint Engineering and Consulting. I'm here with Kyle and Tammy, who would be the owner and operators of a car wash in the Pleasant Valley Crossing Shopping Center. So the area we're talking about is that new phase that was just constructed in the Market 32 Plaza. It was used to be the old soccer field. There's a multi-tenant building up now. There was a restaurant planned for the area that's just a grassed area now. We haven't put parking in or haven't done anything over there yet. What we're proposing there is we went back to the planning board, we got a car wash approved for that section. It'd be a tunnel wash car, and car wash, you know, with 2 detail bays, et cetera. We had gone to Wilkinsonville Water District early on in the process and received an allotment of water for the business, and that was based on projections that were just done by the distributor of the equipment, you know, based on kind of an average car wash. Since then, we've got kind of site-specific projections done, which is looking like this car wash will use a whole lot more water than originally had thought. We originally thought it would be about 4,000 gallons a day on average, and it could be as much as 12,000 gallons a day. You know, after a few years, it stabilizes and it's a successful business.
How are the estimates so off by a factor of 3?
The equipment manufacturer did kind of an average car wash. You know, didn't take into account, 146 and population and demographics.
Oh, so it's just volume of number of projected washes.
Exactly.
More than, okay.
So, the increased allotment in addition to the water not needing to be potable water, in the industry in general, the preferred method of sourcing this water is through a private well. We would have a private well sourcing the water just for the car wash component. We continue to run a domestic line for the bathroom, and I don't know if they're gonna have a little kitchen area with a sink in there as well. It is in a zone 2. We were just before this meeting, we were at Wilkinsonville to find out if they had any issues with a private well in the zone 2 of their public wells, and they do not. So they, voted to approve a private well, so long as Board of Health and Building Department approve it as well. So I don't have a well plan to show you for an actual approval. We're kinda here, it was recommended to come in because it's a little bit unusual where you'd have 2 sources of water into a building. John had actually suggested we come here as well, to see if there's any, problems with that, or if it is feasible in the Board of Health's mind, and then we would get the well contractor to, in conjunction with my site plan, put together a package that the board could approve, or the department could approve. So we would be done.
I'm not an expert about wells by any stretch of the imagination. Is it feasible to get a well that will produce that kind of volume?
Well, we have a well on the site now, but it's strictly for irrigation. That well isn't capable to provide water for both the irrigation for that portion of the project as well as the next phase, and source the water for the car wash. It's about 15 gallons a day. We'd have about a 10,000 gallon storage tank. So the water for the car wash, is getting pumped out of a storage tank, and then, the storage tank gets filled at a slower rate.
Where does all the runoff go?
The runoff from the project?
No, from the water all day.
It's inside the car wash. There's drains on the inside. It actually gets captured. It goes into baffled tanks, kind of like septic tanks, and it's recycled. There's 3 tanks. After the 3rd tank, it's siphoned off and put back into the car wash. So about 68% of the water is recycled.
Oh,
water.
really? Okay, all right.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Oh, all right.
Final
Yeah.
wash. And these numbers that we're talking about is the amount of fresh water that would be needed.
That's not a fresh water. So what's your total so 68% of the water that you're using to wash the cars is recycled water.
Yeah.
In addition to that, you obviously need 12,000 gallons a day to sustain that, whatever
Correct.
it is, at
Mhm.
22%, whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Donnie with the
Lot of
sewer
water.
department, stated he wanted, if it gets approved, it to be metered.
Right.
Where does it, 68% gets recycled, so where does the other 32% go?
That would be going out to the sewer. Some of it's evaporation, some of it carried off by cars, and some of it would go to the sewer. So whatever I guess the well is pumping would be
Right.
going out to the sewer, so that you could meter it that
That's
way.
why he wants it metered.
Yeah.
That's how he's gonna bill it.
Potential
yeah.
cross-contamination with 2 separate water supplies?
Well, they'd be, we explained this to Wilks too. The equipment room, and I've got a little schematic of the building, the equipment room's on the opposite side. So you have an equipment room, a tunnel car wash, and then, offices and a detail bay, so. The equipment room will be where the well water's going in, and then it'd be, a separate side of the building that the domestic service would be
So
coming.
they could have to be labeled and stuff, almost like the school did, right?
Yeah, and
The different plumbing setups.
Wilkinsville suggested it'd be a different color pipe.
Right.
So they've already, on that site, they've already got a, domestic
Irrigation well.
and an irrigation well. So you're gonna be
Yep.
putting another well in with another connection to public water.
Yeah,
What,
we could-
the irrigation well, I understand, this irrigation well you're talking about, that you're gonna be tapping off of that?
No,
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 we don't.
they want
We'd
their
put
own
s-
well.
We'd be putting a second
No,
well.
The irrigation well is strictly from the site development to, obviously, for landscaping purposes.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. And there's not another domestic well on the property.
What's that?
There's not another domestic well on the property. Yeah, there's actually two wells. There's one that we reused from the old house. We're near Unibank. That feeds a portion of the irrigation. The yield in that well wasn't enough to do the whole property. So we put the second irrigation well in this phase of the property, and that does go into the building, but that's all separate as well. It's just feeding the irrigation system. There's not a domestic well
So you got two wells basically feeding the irrigation.
right now, and then this would be a third one feeding the car wash, or feeding a tank for the car wash.
And a domestic well?
No.
There's no domestic, so everything's coming off
Domestic
the,
well is
from Wilkinsville, okay, all right, okay.
We'd only be
okay.
having non-potable well on the property.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that there was a second well feeding the irrigation system. This is just news to me just now.
Yeah, the original one was a well that was already there for a home. And that fed the first phase of the property, irrigation system.
Is that even listed on any of the plans anywhere? Cause I don't think we were just hearing this for the first time now.
Yeah, I think it's shown on the original site plans for like the Market 32 and Bank area.
So you've already been to the water company?
Yes.
Because at one point in time, we got notified that we had enough water from the water company to provide with the amount of water that you needed. So now that you're saying you're looking for 3 times more the amount of water that you actually need now?
And they did say that they could provide it, they do have excess capacity. We're seeking this for economic reasons, but one, because it's not potable, and, the cost of water for washing the cars is, it works in the form of it works better with, sourcing a well. The payback on, drilling a well, adding a storage tank and, filter equipment is only gonna be about 3 years before it's, the investment's returned.
You don't have a set of plans now to present to the board, do you?
No.
Because that's what they'll need to in order for them to approve anything.
Right, and we understand that, and the well company's gonna, he's giving some kind of order of magnitude estimates based on other car wash systems he's put in and maintains and operates, and, he told us the components are gonna be, a well that produces, 12 to 15 gallons a minute, a 5 to 10,000 gallon storage tank, it's looking like it's gonna be more like the 10,000 based on these projections, and then, filtering equipment, to get the, particulates out. So, we would put together a plan showing all the setbacks like we did for the irrigation well, and.
That wasn't happening.
Hmm?
I'm a little concerned about this only because that irrigation well that was put in without a plan. And we just happened to pick up on it. Somebody had spotted it that was being put in without even notification from the board. Back when, so.
Well, I apologize for that.
Yeah. So that's why I think we're all just we wanna know exactly
Yeah.
things are going where first before anything gets approved.
Right, I
because-
mean.
And I can tell you, I prepared a plan and gave it to the well contractor who applied for the who was supposed to apply for the permit.
Well, I never applied for the
Well,
permit, we happened to see an unmarked truck down there
Okay.
drilling a well, and it was never known, and the well was
Okay.
already in before they even came for anything, so I think that's why, as a concern from the, health department, would like to see a set of plans before anything gets approved.
Yeah,
That's just
we don't do
mine.
retroactive, we've really gotten away from retroactive permitting.
Right.
Yeah.
Drill a
No,
well,
and-
pay for it, then you can drill a second well.
Right, but
and
are
we'll
you
get
looking
so we
for
just
us
like,
to-
just so you know, because we really we try to have other people doing, not that it was intentional, but
Yeah.
we have people doing it with septics, with walls, with wells, and it's a real slap in the face to people that try to do it right. To people retroactively come in here and say, oh, we'll rubber stamp, and so we've really gotten away, from doing that. So you need to be careful that everything's
and
done
this-
in the
this
right
is
order.
actually the
So
first
you
I'm
asking
hearing-
us if we'll entertain the idea of you doing it before
If
you
it-
go get a plan? Is that what you're trying to?
No, I can prepare a plan, but, it's not gonna have the detail that the well guy's gonna have. I can show where a well's gonna be, but I would imagine you wanna know what, this holding tank size is and, the equipment inside the
Right.
building's gonna be,
But-
so I'll have that, probably for your next meeting. I can do a plan tomorrow.
What's that?
As far as this is the first time I was aware that we started that without a permit. I can send you emails showing that I sent the plan to the well contractor, months before he was ever on site, and, cause we had talked about 3 different locations and.
It's
and
like I said,
everything else.
I don't think anyone's saying it was
Yeah.
intentional, but
Yeah.
however it happened, it happened.
Yeah. And-
Make sure it doesn't,
Yeah,
okay,
I
yeah,
can
good, I
assure you
appreciate,
that's
we
not gonna
appreciate
help
that, thank you,
today.
yeah, so.
But yes, so I'd certainly get a plan back here, unless we're told that, no, that doesn't make sense, we wouldn't want that, for some reason.
I can't imagine, what other wells are down there? These aquifers, they're robust, but eventually, right, they're drawn down to the point where, do we have any residents that could cause, a shortage of water somewhere else down there? If somebody runs out of
I mean, they
irrigation
have,
well,
right,
that's
they
one thing.
have, they're supplied by Wilkes and Water, most of them, so
Yeah.
even if they have a private well, they don't need it.
They don't need, okay, so everybody's down there is on Wilkinson water supply?
Yeah.
So you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with entertaining the idea of
Right.
seeing a plan,
Right.
absolutely.
Right, okay.
It's not, we're not telling you no,
Right.
we're saying, let's see a plan, and
Yeah.
if it makes sense, then.
Okay.
In conception.
Do you have anything to add?
No, that's everything.
All right.
What's the timeframe look for you guys? For,
Get the plan back to you?
no,
No,
for
for
just
the car
for
wash.
opening
to
up.
open.
The plan, you know how plans are though.
For cleaning Sutton cars.
Yeah, we're trying to open in the spring, May,
Nice.
June.
Nice. Good for you.
All right,
Okay.
excellent, well,
Hoping for May, but.
Well, if it works out for
yeah,
you.
well, good luck.
Yeah, well, thank you
All right,
very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is approved review only, 25 Burbank Road.
What's that?
25 Burbank Road.
Oh, what was that, just an offset or something, the groundwater?
Yeah.
What was,
Yeah.
I believe that was the locus update, yeah.
offset? Offset the groundwater, okay, all right.
You guys wanna look at it too?
No, I'm good, if you guys are good, I'm good, yeah, I don't need to
Good.
look at it.
This is gonna take the longest out of everything. Approval of the minutes. I've got about a year for
Okay, wait a minute.
I read them all already.
I heard them all right too.
that. Okay. Well, these are the copies I'll send. I'll keep
Those the
them.
originals or those the copies?
These are the originals.
Okay, put these over here, those are copies.
You can pass your pen with you, too. Judy, do you have an extra pen?
Yes, here. I'll be nice.
Throw it.
I'll be nice.
Spear me in the eye.
Sure you get it back.
I got a whole truck full of these, I must be stealing them from
I
her.
know.
I gotta break my hand.
Oh, those are just generic, okay.
Yeah, this is the Staples one.
You guys
I like the
busy?
little round one. Yeah.
Yeah, where you work?
All over. Going in, Marlboro, Sherborne. I'm down to 3 crews. So I laid off 2.
For the safety, yeah. Are we still shut down in Sutton for the season? No, we're gonna keep,
Yeah, we're
no,
shut down.
yeah, shut down. So somebody needed an
Another
emergency.
dependent, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve was like, he's doing it.
Right, yeah, why
Makes it
not?
work.
Yeah,
So
why not?
obviously,
it's
it's
good.
nice.
Whether it stays nice, keep working.
We just call him, check on him, if he's good with it, then we go.
Just a little bit of frost or something, keep working.
We haven't had really any, a little bit last week, but it's already out of the ground, so it's like, not looking very good.
Jen?
I'm gonna hand this back to you, put them in the original. Crack it on out, huh?
Really, this one.
Because I'll be sitting
There's this.
I like that.
Can we have a little discussion, about the well issue? I was not aware, number one, when that whole development started, that there was an irrigation well there, until he brought it up tonight.
First irrigation.
The first irrigation well that was there for whatever, from the previous house. Secondly, I was not even aware until tonight that that first irrigation well is attached to the second irrigation well that he
Yeah,
just
they
brought
have
up.
two.
Okay, and then the fact that, it was reported by two people that there was an unmarked well driller on site drilling a well, which we never knew about. And it took a long time for that well driller to come to the office to pull a permit, long after the well was put in. And there's been a lot of concern about the well and cross-contamination, even though there shouldn't be any, with a medical facility there. So that's
But their
where-
water supply is totally different, isn't it?
But it's housed in the same, I think, area. So,
Right, but they can't contaminate their water.
well, I do believe somebody raised some concern about that, one of the inspectors.
But then they put in,
They put,
what's it called?
oh,
Some sort
back,
of a backflow preventer. Yeah,
backflow preventer,
a backflow preventer.
but, so, I mean, that's just my concern about that area there. It's like, I was not even aware that there was a well initially there that's
Right, I mean, I
feeding
think
the
they
second
really need
irrigation
to-
well, and now they want a third well, which initially we were told that, the water company said there was an adequate amount of water for them to get it from them. But now all of a sudden it's raised up
Well, this says most for economic.
Yeah, they said they,
100%, I
Yeah.
mean, from 4,000 to 12,000 gallons a day, that's quite a huge jump.
No, it is.
And so now they're going to, recycle 68% of it, so your other 32% is going, down into this that
Sewer system.
sewer system, which is why Don Oberhowski is concerned about that issue and wanted it metered.
yeah, well, that, and I'm sure there's oil separators and everything there too, so
That's
it's
up
all
there.
part of the plan, it has to be.
Providing plans.
Yeah, so they haven't provided anything, so.
Well, they
can't
will, they
dump-
can't get-
Yeah, they
yeah.
can't dump that down the sewer, it's like a restaurant, it has to have a separator before it goes to the sewer.
And I know there was a few concerns that were expressed, about contaminating the wetlands way down, or the little pond
There shouldn't
down
be any
there.
runoff whatsoever from the thing.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
no.
So I'm just
I think
relaying
people
things that I have
don't know,
heard.
like, I didn't
That's
know
all.
that they
You
redid
said,
it.
I knew the recycles, I didn't realize that much, yeah.
A lot of people think you go to the car wash. and
Exactly,
I
all
mean,
a
that,
lot of just.
But it's,
One-
they got so much salt.
One thing I'd like to
content, blowing salt
suggest
all
is
the
that if
time.
anybody comes in for a retroactive permit, I think you should tell them to come before the next Board of Health
We
meeting.
have been, we've been.
I mean, just don't
We
issue them a permit,
we
just don't
don't-
issue them a
We
permit.
don't issue nothing. We
No
don't even make a
retroactive
decision.
permits,
We just say,
come before the
come
board,
before the
because
board,
it's a
let them
huge
discuss
slap
it.
in the face
Yeah,
to the people that try to do it right. To
exactly.
have people coming up here retroactively saying, oh, sorry, I forgot. You know what, you forgot, decommission the brand new well you just drilled and drill another one with the right permits. It's a huge slap in the face to the people that try to do it right.
So anyways, that's where I'm just coming from, it's just a lot of wells on a small section of property.
That one old well, did you say it was
Even
across,
though-
did you say it was across the street?
Said it was in the part of the house, I thought.
Where the old house was, where was the old house?
Where-
He said
Unibank?
service the old house.
It's serviced the old
There's
house
the
down
old
there
house,
somewhere.
but they have it connected to the the irrigation well that they got
Right, they
there
probably
now.
hooked onto that one,
I
anyone
was not even
knowing.
aware of that.
Right, do they have a permit on it for that or anything? No.
I don't even know. I don't even know, because they pulled the permit so late, we don't even have any plans, I don't think,
Yeah, they definitely
on
need
that
to tighten
irrigation
up
well.
their,
Do we, Judy?
overall, they need to be much tighter on their
We have plans for the irrigation.
water plans.
Right,
well
maybe
plans.
that's why this guy's involved, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
How many files do I don't think I have that file here for that one.
That's all. That's all.
We'll see what they propose, you know?
That's my just concern,
I mean, maybe they don't need that old well. Maybe the other second irrigation well that they drilled can handle the whole thing.
Maybe, yeah, maybe, it might
Maybe
be.
they don't need to be running that old
What's
one
that?
anymore. I said maybe that new irrigation well that they have can handle the whole thing. They don't need to be running that old second one anymore. Maybe that one that can be decommissioned or something. you
Right,
know?
that's
But how would
possible.
we know that? Well, we didn't even know that there was that well connected to that until tonight.
Did they, let me ask you this, did they do the proper water testing on these irrigation wells?
You did a variance to not allow
Oh,
it, I believe.
Were we not allowed on that one?
I
Okay.
think so.
I know there was one of
I
those that
forget,
came, I
I think
forget,
so.
yeah, but, okay, that's good, that's fine.
That's just food for
I'd have to
thought, that's
check.
all, I
Yeah.
just,
I mean, we caught him doing it the first time. He did the right thing and came here this time,
Yeah,
so.
well, they wanted answers tonight, and as we said, no, you should come to a meeting, talk to the board,
Yeah,
right.
and, which is why they were here.
I think it would be nice to have a car wash in town if it works
Oh,
great and it's in, and it's, you know,
Yeah.
it's suitable, I think it's good.
I mean, they are pretty environmentally friendly nowadays,
Right,
so I imagine they're doing something state of the art, I'm sure.
I'm sure they are, if it's all new equipment, I'm sure it is.
No, I just wanted to just talk about that, just to.
So
Yeah, no.
Northbridge doesn't allow, what don't they allow? They do not allow, you can have two.
Public water and private well.
Yeah. That was one of the things you guys were gonna look into.
Yeah,
in
some towns
regards
don't,
to,
right,
Why,
your
why
well
would,
regulations.
why would that be?
cause they want you to buy their water.
It's expensive water too.
Yeah, it's
And I
the
can't
only reason
see
really.
why that would,
So can I get a well and not have town water if I
Sure.
wanted to?
I suppose you could.
Everybody could do that?
Yeah, we don't have a regulation on it.
As long as you make the proper setback requirements, right? You're good.
Not yet,
Yeah.
boy, I better hurry up and before they put those
And a
regulations.
lot of
Someplace-
people do irrigation wells even when they're on town water. You know, you get into
That's
some
my-
of the suburbs when they do water bans and stuff, they have
My
their
brother
own
did that
well.
in Shrewsbury, and as I was remarkable, he went down there and they said, oh, you wanna drill a well for irrigation, go ahead and drill it, just like,
Yeah.
no testing, no, I was absolutely shocked, and he's right on the friggin',
Yeah.
right, you know, the, uranium.
Yeah, some towns do
that-
some
Yeah,
different
it's
things.
like, I was shocked at how lenient it was, thought that's Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
Okay, review fee schedules.
To be scheduled.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah.
wait a second, I think
Do
I
you
have
make
it
copies?
downstairs.
Department update.
I didn't make copies because we were.
Oh, I missed the
downstairs.
department update, how could I have done that?
So we
Department
gotta,
update.
we definitely gotta get on that though, so
Yes,
we
we do.
can,
Yeah, we did.
We do. We can make copies before we at least leave tonight.
yeah, and they can take
And
them
they can
home,
just take 'em
review
home and
them,
just
and they
review
can
'em.
scratch
Because
something
all
down
you've
and change
got
something too.
on there is, Title V stuff, right?
Yes, I don't have
So-
any well stuff on there.
So there's no wells and there's no, food and other
Food and
things,
stuff on
so-
there, right. I wasn't sure if we were trying to push some stuff through so
Yeah,
we could,
no, I think we need to because of Steve's fees,
right,
so.
Okay, all right.
Did you stay or do you
you wanna say anything to the board? You wanna raise?
Oh.
Why not?
I just wanted to the plan, obviously, that he's gonna turn in on that wall. I mean, you know what we're looking for, right?
Yes.
Basically, a full wall plan showing
Correct, I know what you're
if they're using blocks, the type of block, the count on the block.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really standard.
More detail.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're,
I thought it was pretty clear, I just could be wrong, but.
right at the last
you
meeting, we
wanted-
told him.
You had said that you wanted a structural engineer to have a certified plan and
Mhm.
stamped by a certified structural engineer. And they
Right.
fully agreed with it because we didn't think we were gonna meet in December, so they had like 2 months, not a
You
problem.
need it. I mean, you hand that to a contract. I don't even know how he did that.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
it's just
And then he had mentioned.
2 to
no-
6 feet high, and
Yeah.
it's like.
Yeah. And then
I
he
mean, you
mentioned
know,
about
it's, I
no
mean,
Hill certified in
for
the
that
plan,
wall
and I
to
don't
be
know if
structurally
he's a-
sound, there's gotta be
structural engineer.
drainage behind it, there's gotta be something behind it, and a lot of times they make the base of them like 6 feet wide, and then go up, even with the
Correct.
block.
Correct.
Well,
So
I can
it's
tell
like-
mine's a unilock wall, and those bottom 3 courses are monster blocks.
Right,
Like
so it's, for
monsters.
him to actually get that to go in there right, that system, I'm not saying that he can't fit a system in there, but he might have to change the whole technology, he might have to change the
May
whole
have to.
plan, you know?
Well, the other thing,
Correct,
he's 6 inches from the property line. Can you assemble the wall from the back? Because, I mean, those neighbors, I don't know how
Yeah, he's
friendly they
gonna,
are. They
they're gonna
don't
have to build
to.
the wall first.
Well,
Build
but
the-
how
build the
do you
system.
assemble the wall without trespassing on the neighbor's property?
You can build it from inside.
Can you build it from inside? Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering, okay.
But I mean, take a look at it,
Yeah.
right, really good, and if you have any concerns with it, boot it back before he even brings it in here, you know what I mean? 'Cause-
He talked briefly in that letter that was sent out about a lot of trees being taken down too. Is that gonna increase the, like the water
The
drainage?
drainage, that's another thing too, because we
Because it's-
had something in the past where some drainage was diverted going down in a butter's property on the lake,
Right.
remember?
I
Yeah,
remember that.
And, you know,
so that's what we're gonna, I mean,
and it
take,
went into a civil matter or whatever.
right,
and-
take some time, Steve, and really go through that one and see what you're thinking. Ask
know,
them
he-
about it, you
Yeah, I'll
know?
have to think about that. Yeah.
It's interesting that.
Cause they're gonna be all, I mean, the neighbors are so
Touchy. Yeah, I don't
And
blame
I don't
them.
blame them, I mean, that's a big wall that's, boom, gonna be right there, you know, and then their houses are right on top of one
Yeah.
another, you know?
So when
outside,
they,
look right at
so
the
that
wall.
wall's gonna be 6 feet tall
In spots, yeah.
in
At
spots.
highest point, like that.
So if I was in a butter and I'm looking out a window, I'm looking at a stone wall.
I don't know, they gotta go to zoning for that, now that may be.
Right, they might not
They
approve
might
the
not-
wall.
I don't know that they're gonna approve a wall right on the property line, who knows, that's their business, right?
But for us to sign off on a septic system and those offsets and stuff, we need to see something that's,
Yeah.
that's suitable,
The wall, the
that's safe.
building, yeah, let's go through, yeah.
I'm
'Cause then
wondering
all of a sudden
from
now,
a-
it's interesting, I didn't know about the building for some reason. Maybe I was just paying attention more to what was going on at the last meeting. And they went to conservation, and now they're making changes to the size of the building.
Right,
Did you know they had a well? I
Yeah.
didn't think they had a well.
yeah, cause that brought up, the guy last meeting was asking about, like, he was across the way,
Right.
and he was talking about his well,
Okay.
when they
And I
were
don't
talking
think,
about the walls.
you know, I didn't wanna bring this up, but I don't think we ever really settled the whole matter that there was an existing privy there either. Because that
No.
was only, hearsay.
But that is, but that's, it's legit, right?
Did somebody, a neighbor I heard,
But-
confirmed that they had.
But who's the neighbor?
I don't know.
Right.
I thought one
I
of
just
the
heard
neighbors
that.
said that
They said it at the meeting.
at
Did
the
they?
meeting.
Yeah, they
They
said there
at the
was
meeting.
something.
But even if,
An
I
outhouse
mean,
or
obviously that,
something.
you could say backfired, right, on the abutters. There was only an outhouse there, and now we turned out an outhouse is definitely
A
considered.
Yes,
Yeah.
privy is, hot house privy is.
But do we really have, other than a butter saying, does anybody have a photograph of the thing actually being there? I mean, I know it get down
think
with a
they
metal
went-
detector.
Didn't they go out and dig something up, or?
No, he tried, he's,
Oh,
So
I
what
thought
do
they
we-
We
said they
saw, I
found
mean,
something.
it could have been, I mean, the property probably did have some sort
Something,
of,
right.
something there at one point, there was a home there, a seasonal home at the minimum. And so they had to have some kind of, you know,
right, I did research on it.
So you're,
It's-
so
most
we're all
likely
comfortable
privy.
with crossing that bridge that they actually, this is
Yeah,
a, this is
we-
a
I
repair
mean,
to
they
an
don't-
existing system.
Right, it's
I think
repair.
if there was an abutter that said they
Saw it.
know of a privy that was there.
Right,
Right.
I don't
Pretty
know,
much the,
right, I don't know of anybody that doesn't allow that, so that's more of, alright, we're over that, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
So
a,
we
it's
are
an
over that, okay.
upgrade, so.
Yeah, I was wondering too where that stood, yeah, I know. It's too bad, cause other people have looked at that and they just weren't savvy enough, they didn't, knowledgeable enough about Title V, I guess, to pick up on it.
Do you remember
Yes,
that?
I remember like
I
two,
know you
I've
did.
gotten calls at home a couple times on that property.
And we've had a couple of people come into the office way back when, same
Yeah,
thing.
and it's
Well,
on
again,
foot, but they're, I mean, they're gonna be putting the money into it, you know, it's,
Yeah, no,
That's it.
yeah.
that's a,
I mean, I don't blame the abutters for being concerned that all of a sudden this is being developed when in the past it's been researched and not developable, but, you know, Bob Murphy did, you know,
Yeah.
it was more savvy about doing the research and the property owner was more savvy about it and they, you know, what can you do, right?
Yeah, they wanted to
They- yeah, they-
invest some money and some time into it, and
Right.
without any definite,
Right. I mean, they,
approvals.
Yeah.
It's, somebody else may not
yeah,
want to
right,
do
they
that.
turned over a rock that was previously not
yep,
turned over, you know, so.
people just asked before, they didn't
Right.
really propose anything or do anything.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
so on the department update, we didn't do that, so,
Oh, you ready? And I have a lot today.
okay.
Okay. First of all, from our last meeting, we did not have a meeting in December, but Train of Lights happened. Very successful. Ray and I had been out inspecting for the day. It got to be the point where there was one location that, neither one of us could get to because the traffic was so huge. Took a while, 3 attempts before he finally got there, and there was 3, food trucks that he ended up, inspecting. But I have made contact with the Chain of Lights and that he would like to be on their agenda for next year to know who's coming in, and he would like to inspect maybe the trucks before they come in, to the event. So that was about it. Back in December, they changed some regs about, vaping and things like that. And so there was new changes made on December 11th. So that's been in place, and that you can't sell certain things at certain times in certain places. But, it's all here, and we don't have a tobacco compliance inspector, so that the last time when I went out to check on all the vapes that were, off market by the governor, I went and also did compliance checks at the same time. But we are looking at to see if we could get a grant with other communities in Blackstone Valley that are now, don't have a, compliance, person, to see what we can do to, get somebody on a grant and service several of the Blackstone towns.
So the vape shop's back open?
Interesting, the vape shop is back open, but there are certain products they can sell. And Jewel can only sell, and I'll just pass it along, a certain percentage of, solution in their product, and then another certain percentage if it's an adult-only shop. We do not have adult-only, smoking bars. It's rather interesting on, New Year's Eve day or New Year's Eve weekend, whatever, I happened to be driving down 146, and I don't know why, I just happened to look over, maybe just to see if this open sign was there, and I saw Vapors Lounge in bold, big letters lit up on there. What the heck is this? Had no idea what it was, and I actually, the police had actually checked it out, and it was online, Vapors Lounge, and, I said, am I saying things or what? I said, I've never seen that sign that big or lit up, and, sure enough, I went by again and it was down. So I don't know what it was, but I never had the opportunity or the chance to follow it up, but I think.
Weekend special or what?
I don't know, but it was advertised on their website, so. That was that. I just also wanted to let you know that I had to do the budget for FY, 21. And that was due, a couple of weeks ago. Made some changes, not a lot. Trying to increase Judy's hours, a couple more hours. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. I will pass this along if you really wanna look at it. This is about the, age-restricted establishments for selling of tobacco products, e-cigarettes, and minimum, age, things like that. You can just look at that real quickly.
Thank you.
Well, that's the same thing. These are the fines, if they wanna institute fines for any tobacco things. I re-enrolled for 2020 for flu, and just to let you know, we had no medical doctor. And I actually finally found one on the last day that I could sign up, so, it's Dr. Martin Devine out of, Charlton. So he's our medical director now for flu, and so, I was grateful that he was gonna allow us to use his license to re-enroll. I had gone to a triple E update on January 7th in Worcester, and they were just talking about what they could do to kind of minimize the effect that triple E had in our community, which was new to the area. And so basically, they wanna just get out some early communication, some templates, things like that, and that they're gonna try and just see if we can do to reduce the transmission, but you can't eliminate the risk. And it's just that it's gonna be coming, you know, in the summer and things like that. So we're gonna get some reports in April, so we can put them out and just have a lot of stakeholders in place, anywhere from schools, superintendents, athletic organizations and everything, to be on the same page. So if we have to do any bans like we did during the summer and early fall, before the frost comes, things like that.
Historically, what is the likelihood that, you know, that they were gonna have a problem like we had last summer, you know?
It's
Is
kinda
it-
cyclical. They think it's gonna be around for 3 years, but again, it's
Okay.
nothing
But
hard, but they
typically,
wanna,
okay.
try and, you know, get the word out and get the people prepared, things like that. A lot of people that were there at this meeting, talked about the mosquito control
Mhm.
program. I know we looked at it at one time, it was gonna cost us over $100,000. It
Mhm.
was huge. I think Millbury has it, right? I don't know, I think if it's size-based or what it is based, and that's how they determine what your fee is. And it's truck-mounted.
Mhm.
So, you know, when you get people that wanna be sprayed, don't wanna be sprayed, and stuff like that. I do know several people in town, in Sutton here, had privately purchased, their own spraying of their own area.
Yeah.
Well, then the state sprayed,
We did aerial spraying
yeah, they did a
because
bunch of
we-
aerial spraying.
because, of what we had for concerns and people.
Yeah, it was all central Massachusetts, really,
There
yeah.
was,
Yeah.
and there were some towns that weren't sprayed, and half of a town got sprayed, and so, they're gonna try and get out, a lot more talk. What else? Flu is on the rise real quickly. I do weekly flu reports to, our region, and, it's interesting because I've only had maybe 2 or 3 reported cases in our town, but yet when I work over at the school, they've got like a dozen in the elementary school confirmed cases. So I think the doctors aren't reporting them to the state, so they're not being counted. But I know Worcester has had a huge hit, as well as, some of the towns like in southern, Worcester County. But that's on a monthly basis that a weekly basis that I report that, aggregate. Ray has been using the new food report, forms, cause the food code's changed. So, he's been using that, and we bought a new, inspection forms. And I think that's about it. Did I miss something? Oh, Judy's gonna be going to, participating in some meetings with some of the area, boards of health, just to kinda work together, see what's, you know, what you do for certain things. Maybe we can also get their fee schedules and we can kinda collaborate, and, cause I know Steve works for a lot of the same towns that are gonna be at the meeting, and go from there. So.
So
Perfect.
That's it, that's all I have.
Okay.
You know, I missed something, I'll save it for next month. Do you have anything,
So we're gonna,
Chair?
so we did the, fee schedule, well regulations and
Department update,
Title V
approval
were all,
minutes.
huh? They're all gonna be
Yeah. Approval of the minutes, right?
other business not, anticipated.
Well, I do want to bring up one other thing. Remember that lady that was here about that, stove?
Yes.
Well, I did check into it because she left me her paperwork and everything, and, I gave it to Judy, but, I called the fire marshal's office, and, they have nothing to do with it. I said, well, there's this form here that the board has to sign off on. I spoke with one of the, is it, gas inspector or whatever. They're illegal, they're not allowed.
What kind of stove is it?
It's a conversion, so it's an old
It's a propane,
propane or gas that she's converting to propane or something like that.
like that.
Yeah, but it's an antique stove.
And
The
it's-
agent
she
sounds
got a
dangerous.
paperwork that we have to sign off on it. I'm like, we
And
don't know
we
anything
don't
about
even
it.
know nothing
we don't know
about it,
anything about it.
and,
No, that sounds.
so,
The
Wait.
state.
make a long story short,
It's
even
from
though
the
it came from the
state,
state,
from
no one,
DEP or
no
whatever.
one
What?
is involved with it. So, and she wanted us to sign off that it was okay, that,
Yeah, we didn't sign it because we didn't know anything
and
about
I said
it.
I would check it out, and everybody seems to know nothing of, it's passing the buck, it's not them, so. She's not here tonight, which is good, but I'm just
There is
letting you know.
I looked into it too, and this, online there is a whole different community of people that are picking up these stoves and doing all sorts of things with them, but it wasn't,
Right, but it wouldn't-
nothing relevant to what we would need.
Right,
I don't know why the Board of Health would be signing anything to do with that. I don't get it.
that we're granting a variance.
Seems like it would be a
Yeah, we're
fire, I mean,
granting a
a
variance.
building, you know, I know when I've installed my pellet stove, the building inspector had to come down and check the
Yeah.
venting
Fire,
and all that
and
kind of
fire
stuff.
department, if anything.
Right,
but-
yeah.
So, I mean, if she comes before the board again, looking for her variance, you guys can, whatever.
Yeah,
But
do you remember who told her that she gave her that phone?
It's a state.
It was a state form.
Well, who
The-
would,
the-
Yeah, but where'd
the
she
plumbing
get it from? The
inspector,
plumbing inspector gave it to her?
well, told her to get it, but the state form
It's
has
it
a
is
sign off
It is a state
For the
form.
Board of Health.
And I called the state
for
people.
propane, for converting like a propane to a natural gas
To be
stove or
able
vice
to
versa?
use this
Yeah.
antique.
And you called the
Yeah.
state people and they knew nothing about it?
They don't do that, and I called the state fire marshal's office, they have nothing to say about it.
Did we get a copy of the form?
Yeah, it's downstairs, it's attached to her, her stove that she wants to get approved. It's downstairs, so I'll show it to you.
If she could get I guess you could get a propane, gas fitter, or would somebody, maybe we could get somebody to look at it that's an expert or something.
I don't know.
Yeah, but it has
We're not,
nothing-
but
we wouldn't
how
be
we gonna, we're still
signing
not gonna
off
be
on it.
signing off on it.
Right.
I'm not gonna sign off on a gas
Are you gonna sign
stove.
off on that? When you don't know what you're
That's
signing off
weird, huh?
on?
Right, I guess we would have to talk to who's requesting us to sign off on it and what are we signing
The
off for?
state is, it's on a state form.
But nobody at the state knows anything about it?
And not the people I spoke to.
There's no name or email address or anything on this?
Well, that's what I was saying, maybe you could take a copy of the form and send it to somebody and say, where did this come from then? You know what I mean?
Why a
Yeah.
mysterious state form?
There would have to be a CMR or somewhere on it, right? I mean,
There was no CMR listed, I don't think.
alright, that's what I'm saying, so
Yeah.
where, is it, I mean, anybody can make up a form. I don't know.
Yeah, you wonder, right?
That's true.
I mean, yeah, you wonder.
But I didn't mean to change the subject, but I forgot about that, that was brought up, that was at the last,
That's-
Yeah.
well,
That
last
sounds
meeting.
weird.
It baffled me before, I was like, I've never heard of that, I'm like,
Hey, I know, we said we were in the
no,
right
nothing
meeting.
about a stove, yeah.
We were at, when we were in New York last weekend, there was a guy that had one of those old stoves, it was amazing, but it was just wood,
Mhm.
but, it was pretty cool. We cooked stuff, we kept the kitchen warm, we
Yeah,
did like
yeah.
3 or 4 different things on it.
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's all.
next meeting,
Minutes.
huh?
Minutes.
Well,
Approve my
minutes.
I thought we already did the minutes.
No, we need to make a motion to
Motion
approve
to-
the minutes.
All of them?
I need the dates,
You need the
Dates?
dates, is that what we said?
please.
Can we do it all at once?
Yeah, do it all
Read
at
them
once,
all
combine
off?
it into one motion.
Alright. I make a motion to accept November 26th, April 1st, May 21st, July 23rd,
I think it's April 21st.
August 27th, September 24th, October 22nd, June 19th, April 23rd.
I'll second it.
Minutes.
Second.
Oh, okay, then approved.
When's the next meeting date?
February,
25th?
25th. I can tell you right now, I'm out of town. I'm not gonna be here. Sorry.
Is it? You'll pay for that later.
I'm sure I will.
I'm nominated for a few things.
It's not easy.
Okay, so the 25th it is?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm ready right now.
I don't know if Diane will be around, cause I think she's gone.
Right.
So just have to make sure Tammy's here, if John's not gonna be here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I know I'm not gonna be.
Okay, anybody wanna make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Alright, let's go.